As the geopolitical roller coaster of 2024 enters the uncertain waters of 2025, here is the rear enter. Dear viewers, what can be said about 2024's geopolitical flavor? A year that swung between monumental highs and devastating lows. It has left the world exhausted, grappling with both predictable and confounding developments in global cooperation, competition, and conflict. As wars escalated and opinions polarized, the world grew even more precarious. And yet, moments of triumph shone brightly, offering glimmers of hope in a tumultuous era. What I've done is that I've collated the continuities and changes to watch out for from 2024 to 2025 in about 10 points. So what are the global highs? Let's first toast the heartwarming moments of pride and achievement. The historic French Olympics in July showcased India's iconic canine security guards, capturing global attention. That same month, India clinched the T20 World Cup, celebrating cricketing excellence. October brought another feather in India's cap as Chandrayaan-3 earned the prestigious World Space Award. Earlier in February, Prime Minister Modi unveiled the team for India's ambitious Gaganyaan mission, marking the nation's steady march toward becoming a spacefaring power. On a broader scientific front, the first successful treatment of HIV became a beacon of hope for millions worldwide. But 2024 was also the year of elections and upheavals. So this year was also a year of transformative elections throughout that installed key governments across India, the European bloc, and the United States. However, for others, it perpetuated political crises. France's President Macron faced parliamentary chaos with his successive prime ministers losing confidence votes. Germany's discordant traffic light coalition struggled to avert a financial crisis rooted in stringent debt breaks. Meanwhile, South Korea added to its impeachment trend, cycling through presidents and acting presidents at breakneck speed. In Bangladesh, closer home, a seismic political shift unfolded as Sheikh Hasina's India-friendly government fell. Overthrown by a coalition of people, the military and opposition forces, Hasina sought political refuge in India. This turmoil spurred intense debate. Was it her growing unpopularity or the meddling by the American deep state? India too leveled accusations of external destabilization from American deep state, from the Pannu controversy to the Hindenburg reports charges against industrialist Gautam Adani, fueling domestic debates about prevalent anti-Westernism and its discontent. But the third factor is that India did see an expanding geopolitical footprint which will continue to grow even in the next year. On the global stage, India bolstered its presence with strategic partnerships in Poland, Ukraine, and Kuwait, even as it restarted annual summits with Russia and built upon the momentum with the US, a deft balancing act between Moscow, Ukraine, and the West. Yet, diplomatic tensions with Canada over the Niger episode soared higher. Justin Trudeau gracelessly accused India of eliminating Sikh separatist Niger on Canadian soil, sparking a meltdown in bilateral ties, and the relationship is still fraught with a lot of tension. Talking about India's expanding global footprint, India's defense exposed soared, with the United States and France emerging as top buyers. A notable milestone was India's rise as Romania's primary weapon supplier amidst shifting Caucasian geopolitics. Meanwhile, India's arms procurement strategy showcased its commitment to multi-alignment. Deals included MQ-9B Predator drones and GE-404 engine agreements with the US and stealth frigate Tushil from Russia, which of course has a Ukrainian gas turbine engine. However, delays continue to plague the S-400 air defense systems as well as supplies from the US, frustrating defense readiness. Now, what about the conflict zones where wars have escalated and new fronts have opened? The Russia-Ukraine war will soon enter its third year, despite Trump's campaign promise of a swift solution in 24 hours. The conflict intensified with North Korean troops joining Russian forces and a new medium-range ICBM or one of its cousins like the Orshenik missiles entering the battlefield. A dramatic twist saw Ukraine invading Russia in the Kursk region in August, and later in the year, its intelligence eliminating Russia's CBRN, chief outside his Moscow office, showing that an outgunned and an outmanned Ukraine can still put up elements of surprise even in a long-standing war of attrition. On its part, Russia unveiled a new nuclear submarine showing the robustness of its military-industrial complex. Meanwhile, the Middle East remained volatile. Israel's retaliation against Iran-backed proxies reached unprecedented levels, dismantling Hamas and Hezbollah's leadership and even targeting Iran directly. The spillover destabilized Syria, leading to the Assad regime's collapse within days as rebels seized control. And Assad ditched ammunition and took the first ride to Moscow. China, on its part, shocked the world and especially India by unveiling footage of not one, but two sixth-generation fighter jets, way outpacing argumentative Indian discourse on choosing engine development plans for our Tejas and Amka fighters. India's Ministry of Defence has formed committees to address these gaps, but substantial progress remains elusive and will likely unfold in 2025. So the next point I wish to discuss is what about trade, tariffs and investment challenges, which means what about our economic outlook. India's trade figures have showcased resilience. The financial year 2024-2025 until now has stood strong at $65 billion worth of exports for India, which is a 6.88% growth from last year. However, trade dynamics will continue to remain complex. Surpluses, and here I mean trade surpluses with the US, the EU and the UK, contrast sharply with deficits with China and Russia. Tariffs have emerged as a sticking point, particularly with Trump's demands for reciprocal reductions. India's transactional relationship with the US will hinge on balancing convergences and managing divergences. India's growing exports to the West also underscores the need to reduce an increased dependence on Chinese industrial imports. So basically the problem is that the more we export to the West, the more we import from China because our own manufacturing, and especially that of industrial goods, remains very, very poor. So easing FDI regulatory bottlenecks is crucial for leveraging China plus one diversification opportunities. Foreign investment in defense industrial corridors as well remains lackluster due to the same stringent regulations and insufficient guarantees. Regulatory improvements could unlock growth in sectors like climate finance, manufacturing, semiconductors, and weapon systems. Looking ahead in 2025, the EU-India summit is supposed to happen in the first quarter sometime, and this will be pivotal for advancing long-negotiated FTAs with the EU and the UK. For deeper insights, tune into the latest episode of ThePrint's Worldview with Swasti on EU-India trade issues, where I discuss issues such as CBAM. Next, what about security dynamics? And here, let's first start with China. The tactical disengagement along the line of actual control was a headline grabber. But full disengagement seems unlikely in 2025 because there don't seem to be any plans for de-escalation. Both India and China are maintaining steady deployments while keeping engagement channels open. However, China's aggressive modernization, and here I mean military modernization, including advancements in its rocket force and deepening ties with Russia, Iran and North Korea, the Krink axis, poses a multifaceted challenge to India and also to the rules-based order generally. India's strategy to balance China's rise includes leveraging BRICS and the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. While BRICS aligns with India's multilateral approach, a BRICS currency, however, remains improbable in the foreseeable future. The SCO, on the other hand, offers limited tangible benefits but is essential for maintaining a seat at the table and engaging with the Central Asian countries. However, these two, BRICS and SCO, are not equal to India's engagement with the Quad. And at this point, let me reiterate that India's multi-alignment will not be an equal distribution. That said, India's immediate challenges will be its neighborhood, with so much drama in Pakistan and Afghanistan, an unstable Bangladesh pumped up with Chinese weapons and also with a lot of Islamic influence now, and a Nepal that has joined the BRI. Next, what about defense production? Although there has been progress, but there have also been pitfalls. The Ministry of Defense's push for self-reliance and diversification in defense manufacturing is ambitious but constrained by realities. Russia's share in India's arms imports have dropped from 76% to now 36%, and this is over the last 10 years. And now France, the US and Israel are key suppliers, even though they are not the number one suppliers. The new age defense-industry relationships are also complemented by a strong technological innovation cooperation vertical. However, ongoing conflicts and an overheated global military-industrial complex have caused delays. I've already mentioned the delays in S-400 deliveries, but as well as the GE-404 engine deals, but the delays also stretch to Rafale marine procurements. In September 2024, MOD's advisory to cleanse Indian equipment of Chinese components also raises questions about procurement sources that are sanctioned by the West and reliant on China. And here I mean Russia. Even though Russia remains a friend to India, but its deepening alignment with China, especially in the field of dual-use technology, will pose a security concern for India sooner than later. Despite a sharp fall, Russia does remain the biggest supplier of defense hardware to India. One of the solutions offered then is that we have to strengthen India's defense corridors. The MOD has sanctioned one in UP and another in Tamil Nadu, but to really make them work requires addressing again the same regulatory hurdles and also giving incentives for foreign investments. Now take a look at the maritime domain. Indo-Pacific will remain to be a key theatre for India and the world. India is joining the combined maritime forces of the US CENTCOM, which is the Central Command, has marked a shift in how India perceives its role as a security actor in the region. And this development has come parallel to India exporting the BrahMos missile to Philippines and now to Vietnam in a region marked by China's unilateral attempts at changing the status quo. 2025 will see more activity through nimble plurilaterals and new partnerships instruments on MDA fusion. Trilateral engagements such as the India-Myanmar-Thailand or India-France-UAE, India-France-Australia, as well as the Quad itself and bilateral and multilateral military exercises will see a steady progress. The Indian Navy has already demonstrated its prowess by responding to distress calls from vessels attacked by Houthis in the Red Sea. However, these efforts have been insufficient to assure Indian shipping through the region. Enhancing maritime security and ensuring safe passage will remain a priority and a challenge in the coming year as well. Then let's come to the connectivity woes. Related with the situation in the Red Sea is the Indian aspiration on IMEC, which is going to remain unfulfilled even though the diplomatic push for the project remains high. I'm sure you know that IMEC is a connectivity corridor, which is a G7-backed connectivity corridor that is trying to connect the markets of India to Europe via Middle East. And because the situation in the Middle East remains fraught, the challenges persist. However, there will be more engagement from India's side to develop key strategic gateways into Europe through different ports that are connected to the wider CEE or the Central and East European countries instead of waiting for peace to return to the Middle East. And finally, how do we put all this together and look at the road ahead? As 2024 draws to a close, the global stage remains a theatre of extremes. India's achievements inspire pride, but challenges demand resilience and foresight. From navigating trade complexities to addressing security concerns and enhancing defense capabilities, 2025 will test India's mettle in consolidating its position as a global leader. On that note, let me wish all of you a very happy new year. I'll see you on the other side of 2025. Until then, stay tuned.